Good afternoon, everybody. This is Eric with American Business Systems, and I want to certainly welcome you here this afternoon. We've got a great webinar that we're going to get to do today, and I am so privileged to be able to interview Dr. Vicki Rackner this afternoon. There are a lot of folks that are already piling on here, and while you're starting to pile on here, if you don't mind, I know that we got started here just a little bit earlier, but folks, if you know where the question box is, if you'll start typing in your name there and then where you're located in the United States, that would be great, because I'm going to start calling you out here in just a little bit and just go ahead and start welcoming you personally to the webinar this afternoon. So if you'll start doing that, we're going to wait just a few more minutes, let a few more people to get logged in here, and then I'm going to open up my question box here. And yes, good. So that's helped me. So Diane, thank you for doing that. From looks like you say you are from Lee Summit, Missouri. I have no idea where that is in Missouri, but I'm going to be up in the Branson area in a couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to go up that area. Karen, you're from New York City. Tim from Tennessee. Good to see you, Tim. Good to have you here this afternoon. Jorge, good to have you here from Florida. And let's see, we've got Vicki from Highland, California. Good to have you here. Carlos from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Mike from Georgia. Terry from Kansas City. Art, and then Diane Hutchins. Oh, near Kansas City, Missouri. So, okay, so Terry, you are close to Diane, so that's good. Good to have both of you here today. Josh from Queen Creek, Arizona. Boy, I can't say that too quickly. Good to have everybody here. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. For some of you, you may have never been able to know who I am or meet me just yet, but my name's Eric Oshie. I'm the Director of Research and Development here at American Business Systems, and I do want to be the first to welcome you here on today's webinar. Again, I'm very excited for the topic and the person that we're going to interview today, which is a doctor, a real live doctor. So you get to ask her all sorts of questions, and I'll let her give her bio. But, you know, she was a general surgeon for many years, and then she'll, again, tell you a little bit more about herself. For those that are having some trouble hearing me, I've got the screen up there just so that if you needed to dial in, you can certainly dial in. So you can see that. I'm just kind of circling that there. So if you're having trouble hearing us, just go ahead and I'll leave this up here just for a few seconds here so that people can go ahead and dial in, take down that phone number, and then punch in your access code, and you can start to hear us. All right. Let's keep going. Let me introduce you again to a little bit about American Business Systems. We've been around for 22 years. I'm just shocked. I've been here for 8, going on 9 years, and I realized just a couple of days ago that whenever I first started with American Business Systems, it felt like still in its infancy. But now being 22 and a half years, going on 23 years, folks, this is impressive for a company to be around that long. So if you're looking for a company and you were looking for some stability, you can certainly guarantee to know that there's some stability here with American Business Systems, and we're certainly proud of that, including proud of all of our licensees that we have throughout the United States from coast to coast, from all walks of life, men and women, all nationalities, as you can see here. We're great to have both men and women, and again, people from all different ethnicity backgrounds to be a part of American Business Systems. We're just a huge family. Don't worry about whether you have a licensee that's kind of like in your neighborhood or anything, folks. These folks are your family. They're here to help you. They're here to help you help American Business Systems as well. So we're all working in concert together. So it's good to have folks like that all around. Speaking about being in business for 22 years, going on 23, for those that want to check us out with the Better Business Bureau, just go to the Fort Worth Better Business Bureau. Check us out there. We have an A+ rating, so go check us out there. If you're going to do any research on where to find out about whether a business is a scam or not, folks, the only place that you can really go to on the internet is the Better Business Bureau just to check us out. Go check us out there. Also, if you get an opportunity, please come by and visit with us. We'd love to have you come by and visit with us. We're conveniently located at 5751 Kroger Drive in Fort Worth, Texas. So just a few minutes away from the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. Love to come by and pick you up. If you're within driving distance, it's pretty easy to get to. So, again, we'd love to have you come by and visit with us. Again, before you get started into the training, before maybe you invest that $25,000 in yourself, you want to come check us out, come by and visit with us. Feel free to come on by at any time that you want to. Speaking about our training workshop, we're currently, right today, we're midway through the July class. So for those that were unable to make to the July class, we certainly miss you. I see a couple of folks on here on the webinar today that was trying to work their way to get here but couldn't do it. But you kind of slid over to the September training. We already have some seats available. But, speaking of live training, there's Patrick. You're there. Good to have you here this afternoon.
Hey. Yeah, I thought I'd just pop in here since I've got my little laptop here. I'm actually at the Spring Hill Suites Hotel here where we do the training, and we've got almost a full class this time. I think there's about maybe 18 or 19 people in the class. So I'm going to walk down the hallway here, Eric, and I'll just stick the camera into the classroom so you can see it. I think our instructor's up there actually teaching right now, and so I'm just going to pop in there and you'll be able to see that the class is actually going on right now. So I'm going to mute you here just for a second.
Okay, go right ahead.
You can actually start doing this before your LLC has been created. You can do this before you have your website up. You can do this now. So there's no need to wait till your business address is prepared. All of that. You can do this. Networking and advertising.
She called me.
Did she tell you that? Get out of there! Get out of there! You're messing up a class.
You could tell she was just kind of fumbling because she saw me in the back and thought, "What is he sticking his head in here with a laptop for?" Anyway,
yes,
I just want
Patrick,
to say,
you're all full of surprises.
I am thrilled to have Dr. Vicki on here as a guest today, Eric, because as you know, she is a noted speaker and author herself, and just carries great credibility out there among the medical healthcare field. So she's got some great information to share with people who are interested in getting into our business. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to pop off of here.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, and have a great class there.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye. All right, folks, then you got to kind of see a little bit behind the scenes there at a live training class, and yes, there are real people there. One of the things we kind of joke about a little bit, that whenever the first day of training, when you first get there, we kind of talk about, did anybody step off the plane and wonder if there was any going to be there at the training class? There is. And so, folks, we look forward to hopefully meeting you very soon, if not this class, maybe the one right after that, as you're looking at getting involved with this. All right, enough about us, enough about American Business Systems. Let's kind of talk about you and your conversation that you're going to have with Dr. Vicki Rackner. So, Dr. Rackner, if you're there, I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, turn on your webcam, and we'll get this thing kicked off. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. It's still a delight to be here with you.
That is awesome. Dr. Rackner, again, it's an honor to be able to speak with you. I know that you've been interviewed by a lot of different people. I think you've been on CNN and some other places like that. And so for me to interview you, it's a great honor. Thank you for doing that with us today.
My great pleasure.
Why don't you give just a little bit about yourself, why I kind of get the screen so that you can show your screen. So if you'd like to go ahead and share a little bit about yourself, and we'll get this thing kicked off.
All right, real good. Well, I am a general surgeon by training. As a general surgeon, we would do everything except babies, bones, and brains, but very quickly into my practice, I started specializing in breast surgery. So I saw a lot of women with breast masses and breast cancers, even some men with breast cancer too. About 2% of breast cancer patients are men. And I really feel so very privileged to have worked with tens of thousands of patients. Right now, though, I'm doing something a little different, and I'd be happy to describe that to you. But basically, the bottom line is this. For people who are interested in running successful businesses, this is the right place and the right time to mine the treasures in the medical market. And really, the important question I'd like to address today is, why do doctors need you to do their billing? And Eric, I just want to confirm that you can see my screen and everything is A-OK.
I can. It's looking great. I will say this right before you get started. Folks, I'm going to let Dr. Rackner just talk for a while. However, in the question box there, if you have any specific questions for Dr. Rackner, please go ahead and type in those questions. I'm going to be monitoring that as we go through it. if it's a question that's very specific to a point that she's making, I'll kind of ask her to pause there, and we'll try to get to your question. So, Dr. Rackner, we're seeing your screen. Why do doctors need you to do their billing? You take it away from here.
All right. Well, how about if I just start out with my story? I describe myself as an accidental physician. I was in a graduate program when one day I fainted on my way to the bathroom. This is my operative note. By the time the surgeons got in, about half of my blood volume was in my pelvis. So I really thought I was going to die. And I remember waking up just feeling so grateful to be alive that I just knew I was going to be a doctor and save other people's lives like my own had been saved. And not surprisingly, I did become a surgeon. When I got out of my training, I went into private practice with a single colleague of mine. And I'll tell you, he had his office manager doing his billing. You know, he was a solo guy and that had worked out. But once I joined the practice, things looked a little different. Well, his office manager went on vacation. And my associate's wife thought, what can there be to medical billing? She would just fill in for a couple of weeks until Elise came back. And this was just an unmitigated disaster. So I broke off and went into my own practice focusing in breast. And one of the first things that I did was I decided to outsource my billing from the beginning. And it's one of the decisions that I am so glad that I made, because after all, doctors need this revenue from their billing in order to keep the lights on, in order to pay payroll, in order to do everything. So this cash flow is critical. And unfortunately, we doctors don't do very well with money. Now, how did I discover this? Well, in 2000, I became a family caregiver. I took a leave from my practice in order to sort of make that my full-time thing. And I supported my family by being an expert in medical malpractice lawsuits. You always hate it when you get this kind of x-ray and there's a surgical instrument inside of the belly of one of your patients. This
that
was
cannot be. That has to be a joke.
Unfortunately, this is not a joke. This is not my patient. This is from one of the cases that I reviewed. And, you know, something that all doctors get very frightened about is being sued. And I spent a solid year looking at these cases, and the kinds of things that I saw would just curl your toes. Well, at the end of the year, my family caregiving came to an end, and I asked myself, you know, what next for me? Should I go back and operate? But, you know, I had been a doctor, a patient, a family caregiver. I'd seen where care went off track. And I had some ideas about how to keep care on track. So in 2000, I started a business, a consulting business called Medical Bridges, intended to be the bridge between the kind of outcomes that doctors and patients wanted and the kinds of outcomes they were really getting. And to be quite honest, I was wondering if I was going to be able to deal with all of the customers who would come to me, because who doesn't want better medical outcomes at a lower cost? But the truth was that I struggled and struggled and struggled. I kept on investing in marketing courses and hiring mentors and instructors. And I remember going over to a meeting in Europe. I went to plug in my laptop, and you couldn't just do that because Europe is wired differently than the US. And it's sort of like, that is it. I, as a doctor, am wired differently than business-minded people. And so what I needed was the adapter so I could plug into business-minded people. And with humility, I will say that once I was able to make that transition, I got completely different results. I've been a keynote speaker at national meetings. You know, I'd pick up the phone and it would be CNN wanting to know my opinion about something. You know, I've been invited to speak on NPR. So I'm not telling you this to boast, but rather to say that I was the same person before and after I created this adapter. But just having this understanding that doctors are wired differently than you as a business-minded person are can really transform the kinds of results that you get. And in a sense, this is exactly the reason that doctors need you to do their billing. So my secret sauce is characterizing the differences between the world of medicine and the world of business. And the main point to take away from today's talk is that doctors are wired differently than business-minded clients. And just to really drive that home, I'd like to share with you a recent episode from the TV reality series Shark Tank. So as you know, entrepreneurs enter the Shark Tank hoping to get funding for their company. So earlier this year, a doctor entered the Shark Tank to get funding for his company that sold synthetic cadavers called Syndaver. All of the sharks were really engaged. This guy had already had like $10 million in sales, and this is a $1 billion industry. And I thought, boy, I bet this guy is going to get a 5-shark deal. But then the questions started. Mr. Wonderful started asking, you know, tell me about your profitability, tell me about your sales. And the doctor on national TV actually said, well, I could be making a lot of money if I wanted to. But you know, money just isn't that important to me. It's just a tool. And the same kind of answer about profits. And with him giving these kinds of responses to the shark, he wound up with absolutely no deals. Now, if he would have understood how to talk to the sharks, if he would have understood what their buy button was, he would have been more successful. Well, I am here to tell you that doctors need somebody to do their billing. There are a whole bunch of things that I'm going to talk about that really contribute to the main source of financial pain. But doctors need you right now. Eric, I think that you were telling me that you just brought on a new client, an ENT doctor, who was walking away from 57% of his revenue. I mean, when doctors don't get their billing right, bad things happen. So they need you. But the question is, can you engage them? So as you're thinking about building this practice, imagine another show kind of like Shark Tank, and we'll call it Surgeon's Lounge. So you enter into the Surgeon's Lounge, and there are 5 doctors sitting in plush leather chairs. And what you would like to do is get a deal with as many of them as you can. Now, ABS helps you try to avoid the kind of mistakes that that doctor made when he entered the Shark Tank. So they're there to show you how you can conduct yourself, how you can conduct conversations so that you're most likely to get a 5-surgeon deal. And I will just tell you that you're kind of in the number business. So here are a set of numbers that I, as a doctor, feel very, very comfortable with. These are the results of laboratory studies. And these numbers tell a story to me. You're intelligent enough so that I could explain these things to you, and over time, they would mean things to you too. But when doctors look at their profit and loss statement, at their billing, it's kind of like you looking at their lab data. It's outside of their day-to-day experience. To be quite honest, most doctors don't really care that much about this. What they care about is being able to be there and serve patients in a better way. And they know that they need money in order to do that. So you're really important. But here's the catch. You, as a business-minded person, know different things than doctors do. And one of the things that you understand much better is how money works, what money is about. And in fact, if you take a look at anything that you know or you think you know, it can fall into one of these pie squares in sort of this pie chart of knowledge. There are things that you know you know. There are things that you know that you don't know. And that's good. When you're in that part of the pie, you're on safe ground. However, there's other parts. There are things that you don't know, or know you know, but they're wrong, or know you know and ignore. And unfortunately, when it comes to doctors, this unsafe zone is much bigger for them than it is for you. So doctors are in a situation right now where they need help, and they need help from somebody exactly like you. Eric, it sounds like you had a comment that you wanted to contribute.
I did. I wanted to jump in there because this is an excellent, just a very excellent description for us to understand, because obviously, Dr. Rackner, I mean, a lot of people are on the call. They're actually wondering, why would a doctor need me? And why would a doctor need me if I really don't have any background in this? And I think if what we're seeing here, we can actually use that for our advantage, because there are some things that we've got to realize, that some things that the doctors just don't know. They know and they're wrong, and then they know and they ignore them. And I think if you could address real quickly, and you may get to this in one of the other areas, but I did a couple of demos with some people that are actually on the webinar today that kind of had the same question, and that is, you know, why would a doctor use me as an ABS licensee? And can you kind of address the part where if we kind of get into selling the software instead of selling the money, that can be a dangerous spot for us. We shouldn't try to sell the software. We really need to deal with the doctor's money.
Right, and I would argue that if you position yourself as somebody who helps the doctor serve in a bigger way, I think that that's really the way to position you for success. So if I may, Eric, this is a really great question. And how about if I just lay a little more groundwork before I get there? Would that be okay?
Perfect. Very good. Perfect.
All right, real good. All right, so here's the deal. Here's the deal. You might think that all doctors are rich. But the truth is that while doctors earn a very handsome income, because of their lack of financial literacy, it's actually very, very difficult for them to build wealth. So right now, about half of doctors are behind where they'd like to be in retirement planning. There are all sorts of changes with the Affordable Care Act. With our national debt, taxes are inevitably going to go up. So you have this group of doctors who are looking at their private practice. They're thinking, I want to retain my autonomy. I want to stay in private practice. And not only do I have to keep my doors open, but I've really got to be thinking about building wealth. I've got to think about how I'm going to position myself so I'll be able to retire one day. So they're dealing with a whole new financial reality. And they are seeing that money is something that they've got to take seriously if they have any hope for retiring. And I'm saying that there are doctors out there who are wondering if they're still going to be practicing medicine when they're 70. The AMA is so concerned about this that they have formed a subcommittee to assess the competency of older physicians. They don't want physicians who are not fit to practice medicine practicing because they've got to. So more and more doctors are seeing that not only do they have to collect what they're owed, but they have to think about a bigger financial picture. And you are actually a very important part of that. So 3 important questions that you might be wondering about is, you know, I'm thinking about launching my own entrepreneurial venture. Why would I want to work with doctors? Next, why now? And third, why would you want to work with ABS? Well, you might have seen Clinton last night speaking about his wife, but when he was running for office, his campaign manager kept him on track by reminding him, it's the economy, stupid. And for doctors, right now, it is all about revenue.
Right.
And ABS is helping you be a revenue expert. So you are the lifeblood of the doctor's practice. You are the lifeblood of their retirement, of helping them leave a legacy. So you are exactly in the center of the hotspot. Now, I will tell you that if you just go out and talk with physicians, you will probably find an epidemic of despair. Doctors are really, really smart people who just are not thinking about business in a way that's smart. So for example, let's take a look at a primary care doctor. They might be seeing their fees being reduced. they might be seeing their number of rejected claims going up. So, you know, a good business person might think, well, gee, maybe I should figure out what kinds of patients are most profitable, and maybe I should try to figure out how to collect more of what I'm owed. But no, that's not what most doctors are doing. They're going to the banker to take out a line of credit, and they're thinking about how to see more patients, and, you know, they're throwing away 30% of that revenue instead of thinking systemically and strategically. Well, gee, maybe it's time to do things a little different. And you are the way of doing things different. And I think what you're doing is offering hope. Now, one of my mentors once turned to me when I was a medical student. He said, Vicki, what's the most important thing that doctors do for patients? And, you know, this guy was a surgeon. So I said, do operations that cure. And he said, wrong. The most important thing that you do is offer hope. And I think that that might be your true value.
Right.
You're taking these doctors who are in despair, who are seeing that they've got a cash flow problem, and they've got kind of silly solutions like borrowing money. You are the person who can give them hope, who can show them that there's really a different way that will not just help them pay their bills, but it will help them get back to the dream that attracted them to a career in medicine. So the pain that physicians are feeling, this is your business opportunity. Now, what mistakes do people make? They don't understand that doing business with doctors doesn't fall into nice, neat boxes. It's neither a B2C model or a B2B model. I call it a B to D model, doing business with doctors. So the kinds of conversations that you might have if you were helping Starbucks computerize their billing would be very different than the kinds of conversations that you'd have with a cardiothoracic surgeon or an ENT surgeon or an allergist about how you can help them. Okay, so why is it so great to be in the physician business? Well, the first is Sutton's Law. When Willie Sutton was asked, why do you rob banks? He said, well, that's where the money is. And according to the U.S. Department of Labor Statistics, 9 out of the 10 top earners in the U.S. call themselves doctors. And if you look at even old data, you see the kinds of revenue that doctors make. And why is this important for you? Well, if you do their billing, you are going to do a fraction of what they do. So, Eric, if an orthopedic surgeon is billing $400,000 a year and a licensee does their billing, you know, what kind of revenue would come from that single orthopedic surgeon in a year?
Well, that would be 6% of $400,000. So that was going to be what?
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
A lot of money from one orthopedic surgeon. And if you're dealing with a group of orthopedic surgeons, you could be doing the billing for 10 of them. So not everyone wants to work with orthopedic surgeons. You know, maybe you want to deal with rheumatologists or neonatologists, so you're not talking about these big numbers. But the point is that 6% of $100,000 is $6,000 for one doctor. So,
and you know, let me, if I can interject right there, this is what the doctors are actually making. That's really, that $405,000, that's what the doctor's making. That's not all their that's not all their reimbursements. Their reimbursements are going to be much higher than that. So for an orthopedic surgeon there, I mean, my goodness, it could be well in the $1 million revenue range.
Absolutely. You know, the really smart orthopedic surgeons are making, you know, $1.5 million. And you're also correct, because they're billing more than this.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're paying their payroll, they're paying their taxes, they're paying all of their overhead. So they're billing in order for them to be taking home $400,000, maybe $1 million.
Yeah, and the reason I addressed that, because someone just typed in there, well, that's $24,300. Well, that's actually kind of light on just a regular doctor, because I know some people that I know firsthand that are doing some billing for a urologist/surgeon, and just with that one doctor, her revenue with just that one doctor is about $60,000 a year, just with that one urologist. Just one doctor, one. That's not a group, it's one doctor.
That's right. That's right. And so I think that this is why this is such a great business opportunity. You're dealing with clients who have high revenue, so you've got a high revenue potential, and they need you, and they need you now. And let me just kind of go on so you can see more. The other thing about doctors is that they are incredibly loyal clients. So once you get a doctor, unless you just do some terrible, awful thing, you're probably going to have this doctor for life, for better or for worse.
Right.
So, you know, sometimes doctors trust the wrong people. And we do know that doctors are at very, very high risk for fraud and theft. So if you go in and see a doctor, it could be that the office manager who's doing the billing is robbing them blind. So doctors just never really know, but once they've got a loyalty to somebody, they will genuinely stick with that loyalty. Now you might ask the question, well, gee, if they're loyal, why is it that they would consider hiring me? And the answer is because their world has radically changed with the Affordable Care Act, with the requirements for electronic medical records, with the new billing system, ICD-10. So it's a whole new environment for them. So doctors are taking a look and asking some big questions. They're making some big choices right now. So this is like the window of time to be approaching them. Eric, is this consistent with your experience with doctors?
Very, very consistent with what you're saying. There is no doubt. I mean, what you're saying is what we hear every day from our licensees. Especially about the loyalty. And once you've got a doctor and you're really starting to help them collect their money, you really do become really great partnerships with that. So I think you're kind of showing that a little bit right now too. Just on that last screen of the numbers kind of breaks it down a little bit. But that's once you get that, now you're not only are you building that trust factor with the doctors, the doctor has trust with you, as what you're about to show here. The referrals come from your doctors.
That's right. So doctors gossip kind of like teenage girls. And once they are happy with you, they're going to be talking about you in the doctor's dining room and the surgeon's lounge. That's where most of the business of doctors gets done. So once you get your first doctor clients, you can coach them about how to share with others what you do. They can and will talk about you. And Eric, I think I remember when I was out there a year or so ago, I heard the story of somebody going in to do a demo, and one of the doctors, who wasn't even her client yet, had already brought a buddy in. So
yeah, I tell you something that happened just to me a couple of days ago. I was actually doing a demo. You know, we do demos for people that are looking to get into the business. I did a demo with a husband and wife team about 2.5 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, who had their doctor on that demo just to kind of be their sounding board. By the time I got through with that doctor wanted to know how we could help him. He was there for them just to kind of be their sounding board. But by the time we got through, that doctor was going, oh, wait a minute, I think I might need some help here.
Yes. So doctors behave kind of like tropical fish. They tend to group together and move together in the same direction. So as you build your business, what you want to do is figure out what tribes, what schools of fish you want to travel in, if you will. And your goal is to become the go-to expert among this group of people. Now, the reason that tropical fish swim together and the reason that doctors congregate like this is the same. It's a defensive mechanism against predators. And there are so many people who want to work with the doctors, their main question is, are you friend or foe? Are you a predator or somebody that I can trust? And once that first doctor trusts you, it's golden. It really is. And things can snowball from there.
Dr. Rackner, on your little drawing that you had a while ago, you showed all the different problems that, yeah, if you could get back to that, I think, because it's good for what I want to kind of bring up here real quickly. On that, you're right. As the doctor's trying to get from where they are right now to this well, obviously they're seeing who is friends, who is foe, and a lot of what they see is a lot of foe. But there's that one little, like a little pirate ship thing you got over there. It says scams and then DDD at the top of that. I think it's a great time for you to explain why you're saying, are you friend or foe?
All right. So you already understand that doctors are not good with money. And we tend to trust other doctors. So, you know, I could be in the surgeon's lounge and some doctor could be, you know, commenting about, oh, he bought into this marijuana farm and he's getting 300% returns. And suddenly everyone is in on this investment. And most doctors, if you talk to them, they'll tell you that they have lost a lot of money in these dumb doctor deals. You know, they don't take time to vet them. And that's exactly what they are. And when it comes to billing, I mean, you're trusting somebody with your cash flow.
Right.
And if you don't have cash flow, really bad things happen. And so a doctor really needs to know, can I trust you? You know, are you, or is this just going to be a scam? And I think the fact, there's so many ways that you can show them that you are not a scam, you are not a DDD, that you offer inherent value, that it's easy to overcome that trust barrier and show that you're the real deal.
And I think everybody can understand that. Everybody that's on the call and everybody that's going to listen to us on the recording, so I'm kind of speaking to everybody that's going to actually listen to this. Everybody that's on the call right now, they're kind of doing the same evaluation with American business systems. They're trying to figure out, are we a scam? Are we for real? Are these people going to just take my money and not do anything with it? Because they don't want to fall in that dumb doctor deal either. And I think so. If they understand that from now, I think learning how to communicate that to the doctors and understand from how they're feeling right now, I think that's why, from your standpoint of view, Dr. Rackner, that can actually help them to be able to explain that to the doctors. Hey, I've been there. I know what you're talking about, and I got where you're talking about. And let me do some things here to help you build trust. I think that's one of the biggest things that we need to really communicate there.
Absolutely. So let me just say that the Affordable Care Act truly is a game changer for doctors. So I'm not going to talk about the politics, but uniformly, this is a bad deal for doctors, for the doctor who's working with an individual patient. So their costs are going up. Their administrative burdens are going up. It's becoming more difficult for them to practice medicine, and it's also more expensive. You know, it's estimated that the Affordable Care Act, just to insure all Americans, is going to be between $1 and $2.4 trillion. So we're adding to our national debt. And how will we pay for that? Well, a lot of that financial burden falls on doctors' shoulders. So not only do they have to figure out, you know, how to run profitable practices, they also need to collect the additional money that's going to help them with the falling reimbursements and rising expenses and costly regulatory changes. So I already told you that half of doctors are behind in retirement planning. So they really get it. They get that it's not business as normal. They've got to do something differently. Okay, so why would they choose ABS? Why do I feel privileged to be working with ABS? Well, I think that ABS truly is special. They have a commitment to their licensees. You know, I met Patrick a couple of years ago, and I'm just absolutely blown away with his dedication to the licensees, to providing ongoing service and value without any additional costs. So for example, I have this course, the Cracking the Physician Code course. This course costs about $900. Every single licensee has access to this course free of charge with their licensing fee. So there is this dedication to service. So ABS is kind of like a doctor. Doctors are dedicated to service and the money comes second. And my experience with ABS for the past couple of years has been that they have a dedication to service. And yes, you will be profitable and they will be profitable, but you want to work with a business that is profitable so that they can be there to support you. So let me show you some of the ways that ABS has demonstrated this dedication to you. So one of the best ways to show doctors that you can help them is by helping them. I mean, that seems like a pretty no-brainer. So not only can you go in and you can do a demo, but licensees have access to all sorts of marketing tools, many of which I created. And it's not like I'm a Rhodes Scholar or anything, but the reason that you want things that are generated by doctors is that the most influential person in a doctor's life is another doctor. So we already talked about the fact that you want to coach your doctors to talk about you so that basically they will be your sales force. That's the best sales force. But one of the things that doctors want to know is, how do I get more patients? Just like every business wants to know, how do I get more customers? Even the busiest doctors want more patients. So I've written this ebook about how they can do it. And if you look at the bottom, you will find my name. But underneath my name, you will find the foreword by one of the ABS licensees. So basically, when you become a licensee, you also become a co-author of a book. And this adds tremendous credibility. The fact that you can sort of rub shoulders with a doctor and offer them value. They know that they can trust you because you're there giving value. So you activate the law of reciprocity. Here, doctor, I'm giving you a free gift. You know, I'm here for you.
Let me kind of explain something there so everybody can understand. You see where it says again, she's already explained that, where it says forward by Sue Smith. It could be, I might choose one of the names here. It could be forward by Tim Lewis, CMRM. So let me explain to you what CMRM is. This week, the folks that are in our training class this week, at the end of the week, they're going to become a certified medical revenue manager. They actually get a certification. It's a real certification, and then that's what the CMRM stands for. So imagine that you've got a book that's been written and published by Dr. Vicki Rackner, and then you can actually have that as a forward that we've already pre-written for you that you can use as being an ABS licensee. That's one of the support mechanisms that you can use right in your marketing. So I wanted to explain that real quickly, Dr. Rackner. Thank you, and I'm going to let you get on back. There are some questions here that I think we'll just take towards the end. So Don and Josh and the rest of you, just be patient. We're going to answer your questions, and I'm going to let her go ahead and finish because I want to make sure she gets everything that she needs to speak on this today. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. So anyway, it's not just one thing that you're going to have access to. I just wanted to show you this book that was just released this week, written by Patrick Phillips, whom you saw at the beginning of the webinar, and me, about how doctors can build a new thriving medical practice. So we just wrote this, and in the course, the licensees are going to learn how to leverage this as a marketing tool. And the subtitle of this book is How to Get Off the Hamster Wheel, Work Smarter, Not Harder, Generate More Revenue, and Enjoy Greater Career Satisfaction in the Era of the Affordable Care Act. So every single week, you're getting new tools, new tips, new products like this that you can use to achieve that next level of business success. And personally, I've never seen an organization that has this level of commitment to people in their family, and I sort of feel like it is a big family. So it's just been a pleasure and an honor to contribute, to learn more about the licensees, and to work with the ABS staff like Eric. So how about if, I've got more things, but I just want to make sure that everyone who's invested their time is getting their questions answered. So how about if we do that first, Eric?
Okay. All right, let's do that, because Don was just asking again, we're going to answer some of these questions on a demo or on a webinar. He's got a great question here, Dr. Rackner, and I believe obviously you can help answer this question. Don asked the question, how will we as ABS licensees deal with big business or big billing companies already? So if a doctor, we already know that there's some big medical billing companies out there. How do we, as the small, little, just getting started out here, ABS licensees, how do we actually compete out there in the marketplace?
Great question, and here's the answer. When you think about going to a doctor, do you want to go to the Mayo Clinic? Well, maybe. The Mayo Clinic is this big conglomerate. But the thing is that you want a relationship with an individual doctor. A doctor wants a relationship with somebody who's going to do their billing. You know, there might be a handful of people who know a doctor's financial truth. They don't want a relationship with an organization. They want a relationship with a person.
Right.
Because you are going to be very important. In this book, The Thriving Medical Practice, we recommend that doctors not try to be all things to all patients, but they really focus. Well, you as the licensee could be helpful in identifying which procedure and diagnostic code are most profitable. You can be there actually being a trusted partner with the doctor, helping the doctor run a thriving medical practice. So that's a little different than somebody who's just there to do the billing. Doctors want relationships.
No doubt about it. I mean, because Don, if you and everybody else, if you think about it, once you start doing medical billing, you start working with one doctor, especially if it's in a specific specialty. It could be cardiology or urology or whatever it might be. Guess what the next doctor is going to be? And so you start to be an expert in that particular specialty as well, and you become a very, very trustworthy medical revenue manager for that group. With some of these larger medical billing companies, they're doing, sometimes they're doing all different types of specialties, and the doctors lose. They just become another number to some of these medical billing companies, and they lose that trustworthiness. So just understand that doctors are just not necessarily wanting to go with larger, bigger medical billing companies. They're really looking for someone that they can trust. I don't think we can drive that more than that. There's one other question here before we keep going here, and then I think we can keep going on and kind of wrap up here. Josh says here, he goes, I know someone else that does medical billing in my area. Do most doctors already have someone that does their medical billing? And what is the demand for more people in the medical billing industry?
I'll provide my answer, and then Eric, I invite you to provide your answer. But as you think about who is your competition is the status quo, the way that doctors are doing things right now. And if you can show that you provide more value than what they're getting now, you're going to be golden.
Exactly.
So, you know, it's sort of like if somebody were finishing residency in dermatology. Well, gee, there's already 2 dermatologists in town. Does the town need another dermatologist? Probably. Mm-hmm. So even though there are other people doing, billing, you offer something different. You offer something special. You're a special kind of relationship. And there is always going to be room for somebody like you who has a dedication not just to doing the billing, but really helping doctors thrive. And so you can go in with a unique value proposition.
Yeah, and again, I want to just kind of recap again real quickly that if you go in just as a medical billing company, guess what? The doctors don't need that. What they need is a trustworthy company to come in here and help them with their entire revenue of how to do things. And that's where ABS gets involved. We actually will do the demonstration of the software to enhance your practice analysis that you've already done with the doctor. It enhances what the report actually says about that doctor. And that's where you build that trust level. So that's where you're going to find this capability of building trust with the doctor pretty quickly. Josh, you asked one of the questions, do most doctors already have someone doing their medical billing? Of course they do. It's either in-house or it's being outsourced. One way or the other, it's happening. And I'll add one more thing to what Dr. Rackner said, is that your competition is, yes, the status quo, but your competition is not necessarily with another medical billing company. It's really the competition with the doctor. Because obviously the doctors are going to make that final decision, not based upon another medical billing company.
Right, right. And, you know, there are some interesting things that are happening out there that make this an ideal time to be approaching doctors. The first is that doctors have this new requirement for electronic medical records. It's mandated by the Affordable Care Act. And there's a lot of doctors who are not happy. They know that they're going to be making a change. There are other big changes, and one of the biggest is that for the first time in 50 years, Medicare is now releasing information about how much Medicare pays to individual physicians. So the physicians who are getting a lot of money from Medicare now kind of have a target on their back. There are fraud departments who are targeting these doctors thinking, well, the reason that that doctor is billing Medicare so much is because there's something fraudulent happening. And this is a huge fear that doctors have. So if they can put their billing in the hands of the experts, it's kind of like doctors could do their own taxes with TurboTax too, right? There's software that can help them do that. But the smart doctors understand that when you put a task in the hands of the expert, you get different outcomes. Doctors know this. They know that they want to dot all their I's and cross all their T's so that they do not come under billing scrutiny. And the best way to do that is to let the experts do it.
Dr. Rackner, we've got about 9 minutes left, and I want to take a little bit of time left here towards the end to kind of go through a few more questions. Can you kind of put a kind of a closure on what you want to make sure you tell everybody, and then I'll kind of wrap this up here towards the end.
All right, real good. Well, these slides basically talk about the fact that doctors need you. This is really a great market. And I will also tell you that there are people who want to do business with doctors. Some of them do very well. Others kind of tinker and don't do so well. And the point that I wanted to make here was that if you know how to work with doctors, if you know the right language to use, if you know where doctors' buy buttons are, you're going to join the high performers who really monetize this opportunity, not the hobbyists who, you know, might throw some efforts at it but don't really make the kind of headway that they want. One of the things about ABS is that they're here to help you as a high performer. So, you know, I think that this is really the right place and the right time to mine the treasures in the medical market. It's sort of like, you know, if you thought about a business opportunity, the stars could not be aligning better for you with the demands of the Affordable Care Act, with the new coding system, with doctors understanding the need to take a look at their bottom line, not just for their immediate needs, but also for their retirement needs. I think that this is absolutely a brilliant business opportunity. And business opportunity with ABS, somebody who's going to be there to support you and help you achieve the level of success that you want, it's a unique opportunity, and I congratulate you for exploring this path more.
Dr. Rackner, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon, for your insight. It's just incredibly valuable. So thank you so much for taking your time this afternoon.
It is my pleasure, and I'd be happy to hang out here just in case you have any other questions for me. I'll just turn my video off, and maybe you can take back the screen, but I'll be here.
Yep, and I'm just going to mute you just real quickly because there may be just a little bit of feedback. But I'll mute you, and whenever it's time, I'll unmute you here just real quickly. So, okay, so folks, let me switch my screens here just real quickly so I can show a little bit more about us here at American Business Systems and how you might I can certainly answer a few more questions here towards the end. But before we end here, normally Patrick takes care of this, but Patrick's not here today, and I want to make sure that we all understand about the 100% money back guarantee. Let me say this. I've been around with ABS for, like I said, going on 9 years now. There are a lot of franchises opportunities out there. There are a lot of business opportunities out there in the marketplace. Not one have I ever come across in the 8.5 years that I've been here actually offer a money-back guarantee at all. So let me explain to you what this is all about. And we know that you're listening to us through these internet webinars. You're talking with your business coach over the phone. We may be even doing some demonstrations for you, again, over the internet. But we know that it's where the rubber meets the road is who we are and what you can actually learn during the training class. So let's just make this very simple. What we want you to do is come to the training class. If at any time during that training class you feel like this is not the business for you, there is a way out. Because normally when you put your money down with either a franchise or a business opportunity, in those contracts you know that there's just absolutely zero way for you to get your money back, if ever. And so we don't want you to feel like you're so locked in to where you can't get that opportunity, because there's only so much that we can share with you over a webinar, and there's only so much that we can share with you over demos and even over phone calls. You really don't get the full capacity of what we do here as an ABS team for you until you get to the live training class. So here's the money back guarantee. It reads it just like this as it is in the purchase agreement. If you'd like to get a copy of the purchase agreement, just ask your business coach. They'll be happy to get you a copy of it. But it says this: if at the end of the training workshop, for any reason, you do not think this business is the right one for you, simply tell any staff member and they will arrange for you to receive a full refund of your licensing fee. 100%, the $24,990 that you've invested, all of that money goes right back to you. There's really, the only thing that you're going to be out of is some time and possibly your travel as you got down here. But that's a very small risk that you really have to put up. However, if you feel like this is it, you know that is it, folks, we want you to be very, very happy, very solid about what you can get here with American Business Systems. So let me put up the next dates of training that we have. It is September the 12th through the 16th. Folks, it's it's actually going to be 7 weeks away from the end of this training. And the way that we've got that, because we've got the Labor Day holiday weekend, that would be actually 6 weeks away from this training. So obviously we're not going to try to start a training class during the Labor Day weekend. So it's September the 12th through the 16th. And so that's what we have for sure that's coming up. We also have 2 more that are slotted for the rest of the year. So in practicality, there's only 3 training workshops really for the left of the year. But this one is for sure September the 12th through the 16th, and we would love to have you here. Call us at 866-565-8413. If you don't know who your business coach is, maybe you just got the invite and you really haven't been able to talk with anybody yet, we're here to talk with you and hopefully be able to show you some more things actually behind the scenes. All right, so we've got a few minutes here. Again, I'm going to see if there are any particular questions that has come up. And I'm going to go ahead and unmute Dr. Rackner because there was a little bit of feedback because of her speakers that were coming on here. So I'm going to ask the question. question. So if, let's see, has the change in coding requirements already driven doctors to new sources? So Dr. Rackner, if you're still on, you want to pop your video back on here.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I'm going to ask this question. Has the change in coding requirements already driven doctors to new sources?
All right, so doctors are left with this question: how will I respond? And if you go to, let's say you're working with urologists, and you go to the Urology Society, inevitably they're going to offer a coding class for the office staff. And doctors are now wondering, is this really going to be adequate? Do I really want to take my staff who's spending, half of their time billing? Do I want to train them in the new coding? How well are they going to do in, collecting revenue from rejected claims? Really what's going on? Or are they going to be interested in doing something different? Now remember, it's not just the billing. Doctors are taking a look at the technology in their practice, and we know that they're shifting. So that's why we say that this is really a good time to be approaching them about better solutions. Is that your experience, Eric?
It is. It is. And hold on one second. I'll mute you real quickly so I don't get the feedback there. Okay, good. What we've seen here, and I'll mute you here in just a second, but obviously, folks, there are codes that are out there. Let me give a quick lesson here. There are two major codes that you have to bill with. The diagnosis code, that's what's wrong with you as a patient, and then the procedure code, that's what the doctor did for you as the patient. You take those two codes and you're going to process those as a medical claim. We know that the diagnosis codes have went from from what's called the ICD-9, that's the version, quote unquote, the version 9, to ICD-10, version 10, and which made a whole brand new set of codes there. However, there's a great opportunity window between now and October of this year, because coming October of this year, the Medicare is going to be more demanding that the doctors stop using what's called some unspecified codes. They want to be very specific. So, Terry, to kind of answer your questions, has the change in coding requirements already driven doctors to new sources? To an extent, yes, but they haven't all found the right solution source. Our system already has that built into it. It's going to help them code properly and code to specifics. Dr. Rackner, you want to share any more about what I just said there?
Yes, I just want to remind people that this code can make a difference. I mean, I could make twice as much on a surgical procedure by using the right code. Further, there are codes that sort of trigger suspicion. And so just having a real expert do it, it's kind of like having a CPA know what deductions that you can claim. You want to pay your minimum tax that you legally owe, and all doctors want to collect what's legally and ethically owed to them, and the skill of the biller impacts their bottom line, and they know it. And, this is so complex that ICD-10 was already put off for an entire year because people weren't ready. And I don't think we've seen the true impact, but every doctor knows that this is something that they need to pay close attention to.
That is correct. Yep. So, all right, folks, I know that some of you have to leave. I'm going to just, Dr. Rackner, if you can stay on maybe for just maybe 2 more minutes. We'll go just 5 after the hour here. Folks, I know that some of you have to leave, and I've already some people said have got to leave. A great presentation, Diane. Thank you for saying that. For those that are left on here, if you need some questions and we don't get to all of your questions, we're not going to be able to do that. I know Dr. Rackner's time is valuable, and we need to let her go here in just a second. But if you've got any further questions that we didn't get answered today, give us a call here, 866-565-8413. We'll be happy to help answer any more of your questions. The last question here, Dr. Rackner, that we can kind of wrap up with is by Karen, and she's asking the question, I understand that because of high malpractice costs, doctors are leaving private practice. What effect is this having on the need for medical billers?
All right. Well, this is complex, and it's not just due to medical malpractice issues. There are many doctors who are understanding that in order to run a thriving medical practice, you have to approach it like a business. And there are some doctors who are just saying, you know what, I went into medicine to practice medicine. I don't really want to run a business. And so we're seeing this trend of some doctors selling their practices to the hospitals and clinics. And we're also seeing doctors who have sold their practice who realize that they've sort of sold their souls and they're unhappy and they want to come back into private practice. So you're probably exploring this business opportunity because you've got an entrepreneurial spirit and an entrepreneurial mindset. Right now, the doctors who want to maintain their autonomy are really going to have to reinvent themselves if they want to stay in private practice. So they know that they're going to need to work with smart and skilled people like ABS licensees to manage the parts of their practice so that they really can generate the kind of revenue that they went into medicine to generate. So are there some doctors who are selling their practices? Yes. But you know what? You don't want to work with every single doctor in your region. I mean, Eric, on average, how many doctors do your average licensees have?
The average is, it can be anywhere from 4 to 5, and sometimes, you know, obviously some of those doctors are in their same location, but as well as you know, doctors talk to other doctors, and guess what? Doctors are not always in the same location. So that's where we find out a licensee may have a doctor in their own town, their own city, but their second doctor or third doctor may be actually in a different state. So that's usually what we're finding in that it's usually 5 to 6. That's kind of on the low side, but obvious you can scale this business to whatever scale you want to be. It could be 5 to 6. It could be 10 to 15. It could be 20 to 25. It could be up to, at some of our small percentage of licensees that have over 100 doctors that they're actually doing billing for.
So the point is that you don't want to get every single doctor in your community. Let's say you want to get 5 to 10. There are plenty of doctors in private practice, no matter what size city that you live in, that you would be able to build a thriving business for yourself by serving these doctors.
That's it. All right, Dr. Rackner, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Thank you. I know Patrick says to thank you. Thank you for joining us, and just I look forward to doing this again with you.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. Bye-bye, folks.
Bye-bye. Everybody, thank you again for attending this afternoon. I do hope that we answered a lot of your questions. Again, give us a call here at 866-565-8413. We'll be happy to take any further questions that you have. Everybody have a great weekend and a great week, the rest of the week. Those that are still on the next week, Patrick's going to be interviewing a licensee. Licensee that's been with us for a couple of years now. A lot of you have asked some questions. How many successful licensees do you have? We're going to interview one of them, and we'll also answer that question a little bit more in detail next week. So, again, we look forward to having you on the next webinar. Hopefully we'll see you at the next training workshop. Everybody have a great week and a great weekend. Goodbye, everybody.